What's up, super coaches? Round 11 was pretty bleak here for our squad. We got 1131. Nothing went right. It kind of got a little bit better towards the end of the round, but you look at some of the scores here. Welchie kicked it off great, and I was very happy in the end for actually holding him, considering he was one of my potential sells last week. So 68 for him, and then it went Preston 50, Brandon Smith 30, Hosking 28, Johnson 40, into Gutho and Brown 57 and 53, all going under what they should be getting. And then thankfully we got some good scores out of Fafita, Marzu, and Carrick before some low ones for Mulatalo and also Teague Wilton there. Obviously, Hines' captain was solid. Tapani with his first 70 in a long time. Bringing in Horsburgh over Jack DeBellin cost me about 30-odd points. And, Manu going low, obviously, but everyone has him, along with the Cleary, the 82. So, overall, the squad did not perform at all. And, this happens sometimes, I suppose. We ended the round there ranked at 2,937. And that was coming off a 1290 was my rank before this one. So, not exactly ideal, but it is something we can bounce back from out of the top 1% into the top 2. But as I said, we need to be able to get to a big score this week and make back those ranks that we lost in last week. So we're sitting there with the 26 trades, about 40k in the bank, and plenty to talk about, obviously. So while we'll let that load there, we'll go to my team and how it's currently situated. 44k in the bank. 26 trades, as I said. Thankfully, we'll be able to move Marshall King back into the starting side, and I'm very glad to be holding him, as I know he's one that a lot of people will be wanting to get in their sides. If we're looking at my round 13 cover now, that's the most important thing here. And you've got Jeremy Marshall King for that one. You've got Tapane and also Horsburgh, who I brought in last week. We have Welchie, who won't be there. He could potentially be, if he doesn't make Origin, he could potentially be held, I would say, just at that sort of awkward price, or he could be moved on next week. But my big issue right now is actually my 2RF. So in terms of scoring, last few weeks has been pretty good. This week, not so much. Dave Fafita, one of those guys that's, potentially you could look to hold just because of the amount of quality scoring he gets. I think if he's named on the bench for the Maroons there, then I think you need to hold him, because that would mean he would bounce back and back up very comfortably in round 14 and then be able to do well in 15. Obviously, he has the bye in 16 as well, or plays Origin. So really, you get those couple of good weeks out of him, and I think you need the 14 week to be really good for him to be a hold at that price. So that's the thing, though. When he does play, he's averaging 86, which is awesome. But my main issues right now are Hosking, who is likely to go this week for me, just because I do need to get rid of at least a couple of these 2RFs over the next few weeks, because currently I have Couchman and Medok Masila playing in my side in round 13, which is not ideal. So likely one or two of them are going to go between Couchman, Medok Masila, Moale, and then switching up and down with the front row forward and the 2RF. So options for next week are Tohu Harris. Options for this week, you've got Totola, you've got Flegler. You also have guys like Jack Bird who could potentially come in for that one. And I really want to be grabbing Jermaine Hopgood in this side. So I think Hopgood's probably going to be one to come in. Hosking will likely come out. The way I get to this, obviously with the 44 in the bank, is likely going to be downgrading in my center wing. So options do include Manu, obviously being out for the next couple of weeks. He hasn't been named this one. Likely to come back in 14. He's someone that you could trade out. I do have the 26 trades remaining, which is obviously ideal and means that I could burn one to grab him out if I needed to. And then it actually sounds like the Hammer's going to actually make Origin, which is actually very frustrating for my squad and where I need to be out heading into round 13. So currently sitting with, I believe, 10 players, including Hammer, which means I've got Brown, and then I would be I'd be using Katoa as my auto emergency, given he's not in the starting side. Could put the reserve on him, but you can only take 13 of the best 17, and you can have one auto emergency. So that would be for my halfback position where I don't have a current player, unless I do trade one of Hines or Cleary. But really, that half position, it's not that exciting, let's be honest. You've got guys like Johnson, Adam Reynolds, and then Mitch Moses are your only options in that section. So that's that. I do have 3 or 4 potentially if Hammer plays, but 3 current players in the center wing and then 1 in the fullback. So I think I'd have to downgrade either one of Hammer who's likely to play Origin, which means that he's not needed in the squad and he is going down in price at the moment. Joey Manu, if I go down to Billy Smith, I think would be the play in that centre wing position, which would then set me up well for 16 if Billy continues to stay on the park, and that would allow me to go up to a Hopgood, and then I could potentially use a third trade there to improve this section as well in the 2RF, whether I can go, if I do go Manu down, I was having a little bit of a play. If I go Manu down to Billy Smith, I could go Hosking to Hopgood, Couchman to someone like Jack Bird. That one just fits. I think I'm a little bit short of going to like a Jack DeBellin or something like that. So Bird could be the play on that edge there for the Dragons. And hopefully they do play a little bit more attacking footy and he can get many more opportunities there. So that's kind of the general thoughts at the moment. But yeah, sitting with no one apart from Couchman and Murdoch Brazil, but I'm not counting them in that 10 that I'm talking about. I might have to count one of them, considering I probably won't be able to get rid of both as like one of the potential best 13 out of the 17, which they're likely going to be the lowest unless there's an injury or something like that. But yeah, 2RF is the position right now that I need to fix. I'll need to get one more centre wing. Fullback is fine. 5'8" is fine. Halfback, if I keep those two, then I'll just use Isaiah Katoa as that auto emergency guy, and every other position will be fine. So 2RF, Tohu Harris, Jermaine Hopgood, potentially a Jack Bird as well, would get me 3 for that position, and leave me with sort of 13 to 15 players there, with one of them being a Murdoch Masilla, and yeah, that'd probably be where we are at for that one, and that's including that's only 4 trades. That would mean Tohu comes in next week, but I would have to potentially, hopefully Wilton can hold his price, considering he did go up last week after 2 big scores, and that break even is helpful. Still having 100 in his rolling 3-round average is going to be great to keep his price, and then we'd be able to slot in Tohu Harris straight for Wilton next week, but I think probably 15k in my bank after those trades. So that's the general thoughts on the team at the moment. And yeah, we spoke sort of generally about potential buys in that one, but we will go through a couple of those matchups and see where the potential buy holds and sells are, especially basing it off last week. So Storm guys, you want to avoid all of the Storm guys at the moment. Some of them are holds. Guys like Jerome Hughes, obviously a clear hold. Grant, up to you. He's still the best hooker, and picked up a 79, which was great this week. Anyone down the line from that, obviously Warbrick and those kind of guys with that better score of 78, you could hold if you want. They obviously play 16, so if you want him the whole time, sweet. If you want to get rid of him for 13, then that's great also. Payne Haas, clearly the best front row forward at the moment, so obviously him as well should be able to play big minutes in Origin. He's going to be at that clear hold as well, I think, in that pretty tough position. If there was a lot of guys absolutely smashing it in the front row forward, then you could move him on. If you do have a lot of Origin guys, either you move him or you move a couple of the other guys, that's fair, but base that around your squad and where it's at currently. Reece Walsh, 67, he's very much a hold, obviously, this week, and if you still own him, if you traded him a few weeks ago, that's fine. He is potentially a buy in round 13 if he doesn't make Origin, which is likely at this stage that he doesn't because of Ponga playing really well last week. I think Carrigan's someone you could move on either this week or next. Flegler with his sin bin kind of hurt his score, but that 42 doesn't make him push too high on his price this week after it's very low around that 400 mark. So he's someone that I think you can just watch and make your decision on him next week, but he will play big minutes in that round 13 clash with their big boys out. Harrison Edwards obviously is a popular buy this week. He did have his 3rd game last week, which made him go up the 90 odd K, which not ideal for those that didn't pick him up, but if he continues to get big minutes in that 13 role, he is still a purchase this week. My only caveat to that is that their bench and their setup there, I think there's potentially a couple less minutes there. So Reynolds was switching with Oluwapu, playing a little bit through the middle, but again, once Oluwapu would come on, Reynolds would only play that little bit more. So now that Ola's going to play the 80, I just think it creates a few extra minutes in the middle for Reynolds, which means that one extra bench guy is going to take some minutes across their forwards. And you'd say Harrison Edwards is one of those guys to potentially lose a few. Ockenball played big minutes last week, so maybe he loses a couple there, but he obviously played pretty solid in that one. So Edwards I still think is a good buy, but he's obviously been in and out of this side across the 11 games so far. So something to think about is obviously Luke Thompson coming back. Good news is he's still scoring and still getting big minutes with guys like Tavita back, who were out before when he was in the other side. I think they've worked out that Edwards is an important player for their squad, and they're going to need him going forward. So very interesting there. with Edwards on that one. All the other guys are holds there. Obviously, Preston, you could sell or hold, I think is fine. He obviously plays 16, so that's something to think about. And looks like his spot is safe. You've got Burton there as a clear hold. And then it's Reed Marnie is a clear hold as well. Alamotti with his 59. Obviously, we'll be able to make a little bit of cash now. Adam Fanua-Blake keeps scoring tries. Is way too expensive now to slot in your side. Tohu Harris is a buy next week. So think about looking at him for sure. Chan's not scoring well enough to be like a buy or a sell. Obviously, those guys have their buy this week. Panthers guys, Sorensen, try to avoid him. It's obviously a bit of a cash grab if you want to, but yeah, him and Luai, not really on the radars. Fisher Harris, someone that should be on your radar. Obviously, with him not playing Origins, he's definitely a good front row forward purchase, but I think that's going to be from round 14, considering they don't have any buys until 19 from there, which is good. Peachy, if you picked him up, he did pick up the center wing duel now, which is great. So he's in that position now, which is awesome, and picked up a big score and big price rises. So well done to Tyrone in that one. To'o, again, a bit of a hold in that one. Same with Taruva. If you have held on to Taruva this long, which is good. And then the Roosters, a bit of a basket case. Billy Smith was spoke about as a solid one. Lodge, keep him in your radar, but obviously with their bench position, the way he's played, he's kind of had a few real standout games. I don't think that can happen very continuously anyway, longer term. And then it's Manu and Brandon Smith. So Brandon Smith, a bit of a shocker last week with 30. I traded him in as like that second hooker position is so bad, to be honest with you. So I need him to do a job for me this week, and he did not. So very frustrating. Anyone else under that is a clear sell. Obviously, the Bunnies and the Tigs, if you miss out on Buller, I think you leave him out. Now, that 45 kind of slows down his price rises, which is ideal if you didn't pick him up, but awesome if you did. He's gone up 140k for me since I grabbed him. And then, obviously, looking into Isaiah Papali'i as a potential option, as well as Bateman in round 14. So keep them in your radar. And then on the Bunny side, we looked to hold Latrell last week, got that 91. Very late ambush from him. Doing great. Graham as well, another 86. So both those guys are going to be interesting what you do across the Origin period, given they missed 4 games, 13, 16, 19, 20, if they do play Origin there. Anyone else on this side? Again, Totola, keep an eye out on him. Minutes are going to be interesting this week as to how that plays out because they had a few HOAs. And the rest, Cowboys and the Dragoons, we had Lukey, 121. So if you are looking for a cheaper second row forward, he is someone that could do that for you. He's definitely someone on my radar as well. If I don't have if I decide to go hammer down, then I'd probably have to go Lukey instead of Jack Bird. And I think that can work out okay. Obviously has some good price rises to gain, and if he can score a try or two again over the next bunch of weeks, then he will get those big scores. Holmes was a solid hold. Again, you hold him this week if you own him. No one really else of note in that squad. Obviously, Cotter and Robson, okay, but you're obviously holding them. And then Jack DeBellin got his try. Don't expect that each week, or the try assist. The base stats were down a little bit across this game, but obviously with so many points, it was how it's going to be. Birdie was solid, Sua was solid, so both solid purchases this week, I think. Not outright big buys, but it is what it is with them. And then the last 3 games there, Raiders and the Eels, we had Hudson Young, so just be aware of him potentially making Origin. Tomoko, he will be safe to not make Origin there, but he's been solid as well, another 69. Continue to get line breaks, continue to get tries and assists there, which has been good. You got Horsburgh, I bought him last week. Obviously, a bounce back game for him. Hopgood, I think, is a great purchase. And Madison, a clear hold. Gutho and Brown, obviously, clear holds as well. Davies, an interesting one. Obviously, at a cheaper price, but 51. He'll be around that sort of 50 mark unless he scores tries on a weekly basis. And you got the Knights. Ponga, the interesting play there. I think he definitely plays Origin, so you missed 13 and 14, so you can't purchase him. Miller, Marzu, all holds this week. They missed 14 as well, so it's not someone you want to clearly run to unless they have some clear value. Like Garrick last week or the week before had a bit of clear value, and he was going to be safe from playing Origin. Feeder as a hold, as I said. Fodawaker's been solid. Boyd, I think you hold off on trading him. I think he was fine. Like he had one of his worst games, to be honest. So he'll be back from that. And in the last game, we got Garrick, as I said, is still a decent purchase. He covers 2 positions, still a little bit undervalued, and continues to score well. In games where he scores a try, and then games when he doesn't, which is good as well, apart from when he's in the center position. And then you've got Hines on the other side is good, and very unfortunate for those that have Talakai. Mulatalo solid there. But we need a big game from him. I'm waiting for it and hoping it is this week against the Knights. So that's that video, guys. I hope that helps you out, and yeah, you like following along with how my team's going. We will be getting a bounce back week this week. It will happen, and I wish you guys all the best of luck.